I would like to welcome you to this panel session that is focusing on ship management. Ship management is one of the major activities of the Cyprus Maritime Cluster. More than 5%, if I'm not mistaken, of the global fleet is managed out of Cyprus-based international ship management companies. So this is one of the core activities of the Cyprus Maritime Cluster, a major growth area for the industry overall and for Cyprus. And we are delighted to have with us the major players, the major industry participants in global ship management operating out of Cyprus. I'd like to thank every one of them, Roine, Mark, Alastair, Sunil, and Prabhat, for being with us again. And special thanks to Theodosis of Lloyd's Register, who is going to be the moderator and who is supporting this event every year. Again, also, I'd like to thank all of the participants, Mark, Alastair, Sunil, Roine, and Prabhat, for your support and participation. Theodosis, the floor is yours.
Nicola, thank you very much. As we know, the Shipping Deputy Ministry of Cyprus sets its strategic vision through the acronym C, which is an angle of being sustainable, extrovert, and adaptable. And adaptability has been a significant factor during the last 2 challenging years, when ship managers have been called to manage the unexpected and deal with a combination of pandemic and regulatory new realities. Today, I'm joined by an esteemed panel to discuss how the Cyprus Ship Management Center, as you have very correctly pointed out, Nicholas, the largest in Europe and amongst the top 3 worldwide, is managing the expected and unexpected disruptions while further enhancing its strong position, and what are the needs and the new priorities to focus on the decade ahead. So together with me, I have Mr. Mark O'Neill, who is the President and CEO of Columbia Ship Management, Mr. Sunil Kapoor, the Director of FML Ship Management Limited, Mr. Prabhat Kumar, the Group Managing Director of MSC Ship Management, Mr. Roine Ahlquist, the Managing Director of Tufton Asset Management, and Mr. Alastair Evitt, the Managing Director of V-Ships Limited. And I thank you all for helping me moderate this very honorable panel. Prabhat, if you allow me to start with you, and I have noticed in your plan, in your sustainability report, and that you mentioned the phrase, wherever we operate, on land or at sea, our people remain our greatest asset. And also, I know that MSC has a foundation with a vision to restore the critical balance between people and nature within a generation. So a lot of people focus. And many times I say that our industry's public profile is not without its challenges. One of it being that something we are invisible to the wider public or only talk to ourselves. So I wonder, how do these perceptions affect attracting new talent, recruitment and retention? And how could our collective drive to embrace decarbonization and digitalization in the decade ahead promote shipping as an attractive career option for the millennials? Is a manager better placed to increase this positive visibility that we are looking for as compared to individual owners? And I also wonder, how does the Cyprus educational and manpower framework support this new talent journey?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Theo. It's really a broad question, but indeed, what you read is right. MSC is the company which is living off the seas. Even our founder comes from the sea. So we are all dedicated, and what you say is right. Today, the shipping image is something that we always come to news when we have an incident like either the Suez Canal is blocked or we have any, say, unfavorable incidents. These incidents are part of any industry. We cannot always be in the good news. Something happens, but I believe that industry has enough resilience to overcome these problems. So we all have been responsible for not really creating a better positive image of the industry. But when it comes to recruitment, we talk about the seafarers. I believe that one positive aspect of the COVID has been that everybody in the world today knows about the seafarer. Seafarers today are moving the world. If it was not the seafarer, whole global trade would have come to a complete halt, and all the essential supplies, medical supplies and everything was impossible to be moved. So we can see that, seafarers have received recognition, have received because of the pandemic. Never in the history, UN General Assembly has made a plea to the member states that you designate the seafarers as the key workers and give them the priority for vaccination. It's, I would say, a pity that only maybe 60 countries till today have done so, but we hope that the others will follow the suit. And we are very proud that we are in the Cyprus, and the Cyprus government has been leading the pack that seafarers should be designated as the key workers. Our minister is personally lobbying for the vaccination program for the seafarers. So, there is already, I believe, a positive image is being built. It is for us to really capture this moment. It is for us to capitalize on this moment, how we can project this positive image to the young generation so they can see that, look, I am going to contribute something to the world. Today, the people are attracted to the company, not because of the salary you earn, and especially for younger generation, who is basically, I see my daughter, she's willing to pay extra to see that the goods are sourced from the sustainable sources. This is a new generation. They are willing to pay extra, and same way, they are willing to work for the company who have this sustainability as the main target. If we can show as a shipping that we are sustainable and people have a big contribution to make to the environment, I believe that we will attract a lot of talent. How many people in the world today knows, because, we are always for the emission, shipping is contributing only for 2.5% emission when it is moving the 90% of the world trade. And in spite, if you take last 10 years, the growth of the world trade has been nearly 30%, and still shipping has reduced emission by 10%. I believe these are a big positive stories that we can pass to the young generation and attract them to the shipping, actually. So it is, really for us, as shipping companies, everybody, owners, manager, has been a unique moment for shipping, that everybody is combined in what we want to get from the government for the crew change. And I believe that we all should really capitalize and portray and shipping a new image, that we can have the new talent coming up, because we are moving towards digitalization. We have a lot of new technology coming up. We'll have alternative fuels. Everything is going to be more expensive, and the efficiency is going to even become more important than it is today. And again, this we are going to achieve by the people. So investing in the people, developing their professional skills is really going to be the key that we can face together. And and we are in a unique position. We are the ship owners, we are the managers. So we would not say that. I believe that both ship owners and managers, whether it is the third-party managers or owner managers, everybody is in a unique position to address the situation. And I believe the goal is the same. As long as we can increase the talent pool available, everybody is going to benefit. And the Cyprus has been doing quite well. And, we're very happy that we are one of the biggest private sponsors of the CMMI that is in the Cyprus. And we hope that in the coming year, we'll see a lot of research, innovation coming out of the Cyprus. So it is not going to be only a big ship management hub, plus also it will bring more research and foundation. Cyprus Shipping Chamber has been doing a promotion adoptership program to the younger generation in a very, very positive way. So I believe that it should continue more, and we all should participate, in fact, even with a more focus. So I believe that it is for us to change the image of the shipping among our young generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhat. I like a lot the idea of converting a crisis into a stage where we can show the contribution of shipping and attract new people. And I think you have mentioned more than 6 times the word young and young generation, which is which is the key to the penetration and the successful promotion of shipping business in the
Theo,
wider
if I can
community.
say something, I
Mark, yes,
agree
of course.
I agree a lot with the sentiment of what Prabhat is saying, but I don't agree, I'm afraid, with a lot of the content. And I think, you know, Prabhat said everybody now knows about seafarers and sympathizes with seafarers. I would disagree. I would challenge anyone to go to a dinner party or a meet in a bar on a Friday night and mention the word shipping outside of Cyprus, where obviously shipping is so important. People won't have a clue about shipping. And you know, to say that, yes, key workers, seafarers have been given key worker status now by a lot of countries and being talked about in the UN. Where in the UN? In some subcommittee, and the UN won't, the WHO will only have scant regard to what the IMO is saying. Have a look at what's going on the MEPC at the moment, where the IMO is not making headway in relation to the arguments advanced. We are not publicizing enough, and we need to, as an industry, when we have excellent videos, such as the BIMCO video that's just been produced, don't publish it to ourselves, publish it to the world, get the message out there, get on breakfast television. You know, I think Cyprus does a wonderful job, much better job than most countries, but most countries fail miserably in advertising all of the wonderful opportunities which are available to the youngsters in our general shipping and logistics sector. And that's the challenge. You know, each body, whether it's Intercargo, Intermanager, Intertanko, BIMCO, ICS, they all suggest that they speak for the voice of shipping. They should speak together for the voice of shipping and get the message out there to those in the world that don't know. And that's the challenge. And until we do that, we will not get the talent into shipping that will replace old war horses like myself for the forthcoming generations.
Yeah, exactly. It is the combination of what you both said that we need to be using. So both from one side, as Prabhat said, now it's the time that people can feel even more the importance of shipping. And also, as you said, Mark, let's not keep saying this amongst us. We need to go outside. Outside is the key word. And on that, I will go to Alastair. And Alastair,
maybe I should respond to Mark. And why I do agree, but what I said is, this is the opportunity that no government has ever been so discussing the seafarer. And again, it is because the industry is so united today, we can do something together. This is why I say that we need to really capture and capitalize this moment. And it's not necessary that everybody knows the seafarer. We need probably only a few million out of the world of the billion to run the ships. And I do believe that in many countries, where the shipping is considered, this has attracted a lot of attention, though there have been hardships, but also, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, I mean, in the US and in the UK, we are not going to see the people coming out to the shipping. So that will be a mistake, but these people have the influence to shape the policies in the future. Thank you.
Yeah,
may I add something, Theodosis?
The word, of course, the word capitalizing, Prabhat, is the key thing. Capitalizing externally. Roine.
Yes. On that note, basically, to continue to fund this industry that is, you know, shrouded in veils of secrecy for many years, whether for good or for bad. But now there's a lot of attention from the investor community that is looking at shipping as on the investment side, both from a sustainability perspective, but also from an ESG perspective, that the focus is on crew members, the focus is on the people on board, and they want to see action from the owners taken to improve the situation on board the ships. You know, in our case, I can give an example where the investors are actually saying, deviate the ship to wherever you can, take the off hire and take the time you need to make sure that the people on board are given the opportunity to sign off the vessel and go back to their families. This is one example of the requirements from the investors, and perhaps in the past where you have a lot of self-funded capital within shipping, you know, you have bank financing, of course, but the voices of those investors, as well as private investors and private equity influence investors, will become a lot more driving forces, bigger driving forces in the industry, and they will definitely demand these kind of actions. So it's a good change, But as Mark said, there's a lot more we can do, and there's not enough focus and not enough dissemination of the information out to the wider world, which is hopefully something that will be a positive coming out of this of the situation we had for the last year and a half. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Roine. And it's no surprise that you brought from yourself the element of investment in this discussion. So we will remain on people with Alastair going to you, and also noting that in your company's so-called 6 strategic pillars, one of your strategic pillars is investing in talent. And what you say is that you strive to ensure that we have, as a company, the best people in our industry, both on shore and on sea, in order to provide highest quality service to all our customers. So you again focusing on the people element naturally. And what would be your comments in this discussion on attracting new talent from the wider community and the way the Cyprus system contributes on that?
Theo, thank you very much, and thanks to the organisers at Capital Link for the opportunity to participate. Yeah, I think this is a debate that, a subject that could be the topic of a whole debate. And I would challenge that the industry is invisible. I would say that the industry is very often visible for all the wrong reasons. Wakasho, Ever Given, and the Express Peril being good examples. And this is an industry where, as Prabhat has said, where actually we deliver 90% of everything. And the anomaly is that out of that, we deliver almost everything safely, and we deliver almost everything on time. And for that reason, it's regrettable that in a number of geographies, the marine industry is not seen by the youngsters as an attractive proposal. The brand maritime does not mean a lot with them. So we as an industry have to be a lot better in supporting and educating youngsters to understanding what a career in the marine industry is all about. My own example, I mean, I went to sea, I did my cadetship, I got my master's certificate, went to master, I came ashore, and have followed a career in ship management. It's been a great career, but nobody told me when I went to sea as a 16-year-old cadet what the opportunity, what life could be after the sea. And I really applaud what the Cyprus Deputy Ministry, what the Cyprus Shipping Council have done, because as Prabhat said, they have, starting at the very young generation with the Adopt a Ship campaign, but also the Promote a Career in Shipping campaign, the Marine Education and Blue Growth campaign, and it's up to all of us to support these campaigns. Now, there's a hindrance as well. And I was disgusted last week to read that the first action after the Express Peril fire was that they arrested the master. There was a master whose ship was not given port of refuge when a container was leaking, that had he been given port of refuge, it would have been discharged and the vessel would have continued trading. So what chance have we to attract youngsters into the industry when they see the first recourse of governments is to arrest senior officers or seafarers whenever something goes wrong? Now, we talked about decarbonisation and digitalisation. Is that going to attract youngsters into the industry? And I'm sorry to say that my answer is, I don't think it is. But putting it the other way, if we fail to do it, it is certainly going to drive people away from the industry. So I think we can't just rely on decarbonisation and digitalisation. We've got to look far beyond that, career patterns for life. How do we get people through? Now, you mentioned about V Group, and one of the great successes that we've had over the last years is our graduate trainee programme. We actually fast track top quality graduate trainees through all aspects of the group's operation and then fast track them into management roles within the group. It's worked really well. I'm an ex-seafarer. I would love to see all my superintendents, marine superintendents, come from ships. but that's not going to happen. We've got to be realistic going forward and say that our human capital, we've got to look beyond the shipping industry for our talent going forward. And this is where Cyprus can really assist. We all run ship management companies in Cyprus, I dare say, with a large expatriate workforce that is largely transient. So how can we develop and home grow in Cyprus our own talent pools? It won't happen overnight. Somebody said it'll take a long time to develop, but it's got to be the challenge that they look at going forward. And I'll close by saying, whose responsibility is this to promote our industry? Well, it's all of ours. It's governments, it's ship owners, it's ship managers, it's classification societies, it's every member of the cluster has responsible for promoting our industry. And as Mark rightly said, the one advantage that we've got in Cyprus is not the 360 days of sunshine, but it's the fact that we can look out our windows every day and see a ship, and people in Cyprus know what shipping is about. I hope that answers the question, Theo. Thank you.
Alastair, thanks a lot. And indeed, I would say let's go to schools, for example. We need to educate the youngsters when they are at school of the importance of shipping. And I don't know if digitalization will attract more people, but it does play a role for the profile of the shipping industry towards the youngsters to see a modern industry, not to have an idea of an old ship traveling the oceans. It's to see the modern flavor, the advance of technology, and this is a piece in the puzzle. I don't know how big a piece in this puzzle, but it is a piece in the puzzle together with everything else.
If I can just support what Alastair said there, but also develop on a point, I think sustainability and diversity and technology and digitalization and decarbonization are the very sexy bywords and buzzwords that attract the younger generation into the business now, because they are so much more attuned to these concepts, and rightfully, and feel that they're important in the workplace in which they want to live and thrive. So, you know, I do think it's massively important. I applaud what Alastair and his company are doing in relation to graduate recruitment and fast track. But, you know, we all have to make our companies the environments in which the younger generation want to work and spend their careers. And I think we're all, in fairness to all of us, these are all issues that are very much at the top of our priority list. But sustainability and diversity these are absolutely core to our businesses going forward, and will attract the talent, or turn the talent away if we don't come up to scratch.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very, very correct, Mark. And it's good that you also mentioned diversity, because it is something that it's on the top of the heads, on the minds of people a lot. And it's good to see shipping embracing this concept as well. So, Roine, I will go to you, and I noted that Tufton talks about responsible investing and talks about good stewardship of investments. And it is a period this week, especially with MEPC meeting and meeting and commanding industry attention. And after that, ship owners will have to make indeed important decisions, investment decisions within the next years with regard to technologies, retrofitting, changing design features, etc., etc. And as a result, compliance with the so famous carbon intensity indicators will also have an impact on the existing fleet to meet the requirements. Again, we're talking about investments, and we will have owners and charterers been assessing these impacts, measuring what will need to be done, and also measuring who should pay for the bill. So how does this whole picture talks to you, and what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thanks very much, Theo. Thanks for highlighting also the way that Tufton focuses on the principles of responsible investing and investment, and how we are making that a key priority of our industry and our company. Firstly, the upcoming regulations in shipping, as we now see being debated and hashed out in the MEPC, is merely a subset of an industrial revolution where capital is being pushed into responsible investing, which is obviously driven by the environmental demands and the way that we see things developing on the political scene, and that based on climate research, etc., over the last 20 years. So these solutions that are needed are, from a technical perspective, they're quite demanding. We're looking at carbon capture technology to be invested in and presented and stored and managed on board the vessels. This is yet to be something that is possible to do. There are a number of opportunities of which we are looking at 2 or 3 together with a few startups to do that type of technology. But before that, you have the capture of the NOx gases and other issues in exhausts from vessels that are likely to come before the CO2. Now, you don't get paid for capturing the NOx, but obviously there's a longer game here where NOx capture together with SOx, which is already solved, I guess, at least in the short term, and the CO2 is to follow. So there's technologies that are building up based on these capabilities, which will take time, obviously, to deliver on. But I think within the next 24 months, we'll have some sustainable solutions on site to be invested and installed on vessels. IMO's decisions, they guide the industry, and obviously, as we can see now happening within the MEPC 76, we fell a bit short of what I guess the general view in shipping is. So we should be prepared as an industry that these guidances and rules from IMO is not the end of the discussion. They're only valid sort of to 2026, but the overall sustainability agenda will advance and pick up even more speed over the next couple of years. And whatever IMO will decide eventually, and whatever the final resolution will be, we as companies, and as if you're talking about us specifically, we continue to invest in energy-saving technologies on board the ships. The far out thing is this carbon capture, but there are many other ways to reduce your emissions and through reducing your consumption before that. So various types of energy-saving devices. You can go from all the way down to just improving the paint specification you have on the hull during the dry dock, to installing stators. You have the ducts. You have various types of things that can improve your efficiency by up to 10%. We as a company have invested in wind technology as well, as you may have seen in the press recently, which is obviously a very exciting type of technology. And we're committed to continue that type of investing in our fleet. And I think this is what the investors of the future will demand, as well as what the rest of the world will demand. We have a huge target as a world to manage the environmental situation. And as a subset, the shipping industry obviously has a lot of capital demands now for the next 3 to 10 years to manage this exposure. On the commercial impact of these regulations, EEXI is something we have to just comply with, whether we do it through reducing the engine output, or through limitation, or we actually come up with more innovative solutions on the energy saving devices side. It doesn't really matter. Commercially, those ships that are not able to perform or end up being uncompetitive due to not being able to maintain the speed that the market demands, they will be phased out, and we'll probably see more than 2 tiers or subsets of the markets going forward, which will create some interesting opportunities as well as problems, of course, for owners. And these developments will ultimately drive people's investment decisions into new types of technologies. This is already affecting the new building industry, where we don't see enough sufficient new building as we have seen before. Obviously, the container industry is an exception, where the enormous market situation right now is driving some new buildings and also driving a lot of other transactions around it. who will ultimately end up paying the bill here? This has to be driven by the ship owners, and obviously in collaboration with the charters. But I think we see owners now, progressive owners, and also we see some progressive charters taking big steps into doing new buildings with alternative fuels as the standard, and that will probably continue. But the general market, so far as we can see, they're not really there to support investments in ESDs, and there's a lot of discussions with charters where you see a reluctance or a hesitation at this point to fully support people who want to invest in these type of technologies. As Tufton, we are going ahead and investing in these technologies anyway, because we believe that this is the right thing to do. We believe that positioning our fleet commercially for the next 10 years is important for our investors, of course, and for ourselves. And we believe that the charters will follow as soon as you see the benefits of being able to offer a ship to the market and to a charter which has a reduced carbon footprint. The CII, when it becomes a regulation, it will change the dynamics quite dramatically. Many large chartering entities will have to look at the way they charter ships in a much different way than they do today. As owners, as managers, we all have to look at the ships that we own or manage or control in whatever way, from a portfolio perspective, from a holistic perspective. And we need to understand what we can offer to our commercial counterparts to be able to support them in dealing with the decarbonization journey, which is ultimately here to stay. And almost irrespectively what comes out at the IMO MEPC this week, this journey will not stop, and it will just pick up pace over the next few years. I hope that that answers the questions posed.
Thank you, Roine. This answers the question from all perspectives. And if I can add one, I would say that this is somehow related to our previous discussion, because this move for shipping to proceed with technological advancements in the design of the ships is also something that will attract talented young designers and people from universities that will see an opportunity to design something new for shipping. Sunil, I have noticed in the FML mission that you refer strongly to achieving goals while improving continuously. And I would like to ask and go to a discussion with respect to what lessons has the industry learned from the COVID situation. What have we learned that will help us improve and continuously be improving? Where do we go after that? And how will the management companies add value to the owners in this continuous improvement through circumstances like the one we have been experiencing the last 2 years? Sunil, over to you. Maybe you're on mute, Sunil. Just check your microphone. Not yet. Nope. I think, Sunil, you are still on mute. Well, Sunil, I'll give you 1 minute to adjust your microphone because we cannot hear you, and I will go to Mark because Columbia's quality and efficient commitment also refers to the concept, Mark, of continuous improvement. So
Shall I jump in to keep the flow?
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm sure Sunil will echo a lot of what I've said. I think what changes have we seen in the sector overall? I think there has been a cull of those companies that don't come up to scratch. And I think companies that were challenged before COVID for various reasons will have found this whole COVID period and the ongoing COVID period simply destructive to their business, and they won't stay in business. So I think companies that were challenged before won't survive and wouldn't have survived the COVID period. I think from a management company point of view, you're now seeing the majority of the companies leaner, meaner, faster, more agile, more adaptive and dynamic in their decision taking and decision making, more resilient, and far more focused on people. And you know, we had Prabhat's comments at the beginning about this focus on people. I think all of the companies on this panel and those successful companies in the sector and outside have realized the one thing from this COVID that really matters are the people in your organizations, and they've got us through this more than any technology could. I think there's also been a huge support for outsourcing to the manager from the industry. And I think whether you call us third-party managers, or as what I prefer to call us second-party managers, because it's closer to the owner, there's been a huge support. And I think everybody in the sector has seen that the larger managers, or the more efficient managers, shall I say, have borne the COVID pandemic much better than the smaller operator, because they have the resources to invest in the technology, to use that technology to cope with crew rotations and vaccinations and all the technical issues, because they have the resources to look at the procurement platforms necessary and achieve the economies of scale. So I think if ship management, third-party, second-party ship management wasn't compelling before COVID, it is certainly a compelling proposition now. And I think on that note, one of the challenges of intermanager, and putting my intermanager hat on now, of which some of the panel are members, what we're trying to do there is make that compelling story even more compelling and convert 25% of the market, which currently engages third-party, second-party managers, into 75%. And in that line, what we've been doing, what we've been using this period for is to, and I've got to thank Alastair for his and his organization's support here, is using this time to look at and create an industry standard, because unbelievably, the third-party management sector doesn't have an industry standard as other sectors, other industries do. Until we have that standard, we simply can't go to the shipping market, to our clients, and say, we do things better or could do things better than you. And here is the very basic minimum that we ascribe to. And I would challenge any company that is not part, any management company, in-house or out-house, that is not part of Intermanager, to please join us and work with us to create this standard for the further improvement of the third-party manager industry. Because you've got to ask yourselves, there will come a time when you ask yourselves, why aren't you part of this this movement, where this must be for the good of the sector. I think one more point where the sector has improved massively, and that is human resource management. You know, we're talking more and more about people. And one area, a really crucial area in which the shipping sector as a whole lagged behind other sectors, was in human resource management. We didn't really know it as a concept. Human resource is a concept in other industry sectors. We talk about personnel departments. We talk about our crewing departments. Yeah. No, we need to talk about human resource management and managing people's aspirations, managing their careers, managing their goals, managing their work-life balances, etc. Proper human resource management at shore and on board vessels, and really looking at our people, whether they're crew or whether they're in our offices ashore, not as an expense on our profit and loss, but as an asset on our balance sheet. And until we do that, we really won't. We'll talk the talk, but we won't walk the walk as far as looking after our people are concerned. So I think there are fundamental changes. COVID has been a real catalyst to bring a lot of these issues to the fore, and the good companies amongst us, and I hasten to add all of those on this panel, and there are a of others that could be joining us here. The good companies amongst us are looking at all of these issues, and all of these issues, including diversity and sustainability, and all of how do we attract the young, and how do we go out into the wider world and advertise the huge benefits that this industry can offer. Those issues are right up there on our priority lists.
Thank you, Mark. And let's see if Sunil now has a live microphone.
Thanks, Theo. Can you hear me?
Sunil. Yes, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Theo. Sorry for this interruption. This further to what Mark said, I just want to add, this virus busted a wide spread of myth, and it shows us with crystal clarity that all of us, owners, charters, managers, and everyone part of the supply chain is in the same boat. It shows us the terrible folly of pretending that we can achieve security in isolation within borders of a nation, class, or religion. Last year, we were in constant competition. We fought for the best flights for our crew or dock spaces in China. Suddenly, there was a realization that the way forward is to pool our resources. To achieve our goal, whether it's sustainability, zero carbon emission, crew welfare, digitalization, even crew vaccination, we all must work together to take the shipping to the next level. Shipping never stopped. Ships continued to sail even when most of the world was under lockdown. There were so many challenges: inspections, repairs, dockings, crew change supply, or critical spares. Very quickly, everyone adapted to the new ways of working in a world full of closed borders and mandatory quarantines. Tasks we thought were impossible to be done without a physical presence were completed with great success and efficiency through technology. In 1993, when I was a surveyor, if I had to do a survey, it would involve a flight, a taxi, and a tugboat to reach the ship, and to confirm just the seawater pump is running. It took a pandemic to change that. Who would have thought that a video clip would do the same job? There is one of the many processes which have changed after this pandemic. Ship managers need to embrace, explore, and invest in new technologies, as they can potentially bring an operational advantage. And that is why last year we have doubled down on our investments in technology. Finally, there is a lot of focus on our seafarers. As everybody said, we are looking at the wellness and mental well-being. We want to pass a very strong message that seafarers are not alone. The need is to provide a 360-degree support system at joining, while on board, and after disembarkation from the vessel. Vaccination, insurance, monetary relief, availability of doctor, and welfare calls are part of this support system. The pandemic proved once more that large management companies like Fleet are of vital importance to the shipping industry. We work as a pool for our clients to ensure that all of them get the same service and benefits by trusting us. Our influence and connections among the industry is what makes the ship managers like us being able to provide huge advantage to owners and access to resources that especially small owners cannot have access on their own. In the end, I would like to add that Cyprus government and the ministry handled the pandemic quite well. Shipping companies came under essential services so that the key people can work from office. Vaccination of superintendents was initiated, and there were no disruption and no excitement, and work continued as normal here on this island. Thanks. Over to Theo.
Thank you very much, Sunil, and I would like to thank you all for this discussion. I'm excited that we have discussed so widely on people, on strategic human resources, on this effect, this side of our business, which is, as we all said, of extremely importance, and which coincides with the strategic view of the Cyprus government for educating and for bringing up new talent. Thank you. Take care, remain safe, remain strong, keep the management hub in Cyprus going stronger and stronger. And Nicholas, over to you.
Well, I would like to say that, as expected, this has been a terrific panel. I appreciate very much the diversity of opinions, the vigor and insight. So thank you very, very much for a very special panel discussion. Thank you, Theodosis, Roine and Mark, Prabhat, Alastair, and Sunil. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Captain Link.
Thank you.